Welcome everyone. We're glad you could join us today. My name is Dr. Margaret Reilly. I'm the Academic Director for the online nursing program here at the CUNY School of Professional Studies. Our program is for RNs who are returning to school to get their bachelor's degree. Today we're very pleased to present the first of a series of webinars on professional development for nurses. We're going to be focusing today on leadership and professional development. We're very privileged and pleased to have Dr. Eileene Sheikh with us today, who will be talking to you about this webinar. Dr. Eileene Sheikh has served in numerous leadership positions, including Strategic Policy Advisor in Washington, D.C. at the Center to Champion Nursing in America at AARP. She's been the CEO of the North Carolina Foundation for Nursing Excellence, the Director of the University of South Carolina Center for Nursing Leadership, the Director of the USC DNP in Organizational Leadership Program, Director of Clinical Practice, Education, Nursing Research at Providence Hospitals, and Director of South Park Surgery Center. Dr. Sheikh has served as the co-director of the South Carolina One Voice, One Plan Action Coalition and was instrumental in developing the application submitted to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for South Carolina to become a state action coalition to implement the Institute of Medicine's recommendations for the future of nursing. She received the 2011 South Carolina Palmetto Gold Award, the 2012 SCNA President's Award for Outstanding Service, was nominated and inducted into the Golden Key International Honor Society and the Sigma Theta Tau International Honor Society for Nursing. Dr. Sheikh currently holds an adjunct faculty appointment at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and we are so pleased and privileged that she's also an adjunct professor here at the CUNY School of Professional Studies. Her expertise in leadership and professional development is exemplary, and we are honored to have her present the first in our series of leadership and professional development webinars for nursing. Thank you, Dr. Eileene Sheikh, and I will pass the webinar over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reilly, and welcome to all of you to the webinar on leadership and professional development.
Muted.
Today, nurse leaders are frequently involved in transitions due to the occurrence of constant change. This webinar will focus on the professional development expectations for nurses to achieve higher levels of education so they can effectively transition into leadership roles to help transform the delivery of health care in our country. The webinar will provide you with specific strategies and tips that you can use to successfully transition into the BSRN role and complete your BS degree. Now let's take a look at the objectives for the webinar. There are 5 learning objectives here. I will not read in detail all of these objectives, but you can see that this is going to be action-packed because you're going to be able to identify specific action steps you can take to be successful in the RN to BS program. You're going to get the opportunity to start thinking about your passion, and you're going to get to look at your leadership competencies and how to develop and improve these competencies. You'll be able to identify behaviors that will help you be successful, and you will also identify characteristics of an effective mentor. So let's get started. First important question that you need to ask yourself is, why do you need to successfully transition to a BSRN? And on this slide and then the next slide, we give you some answers, and I'm sure you also will have some additional answers of your own. As you all are aware, the healthcare system, current and future roles of nurses, and the way we deliver healthcare are moving and transforming. Of course, the Affordable Care Act and the Institute of Medicine report on the future of nursing has a direct impact on how we provide nursing care now and in the future. And there's a call for nurses to obtain higher levels of education, because in order for nurses to be able to impact implementing positive change and improving patient outcomes, nurses need additional education to be successful in filling these roles. Also, there's a paradigm shift occurring in nursing in this country. And here are some 4 key initiatives that we see happening in magnet hospitals. And you can see a shift occurring and what we're moving towards related to expectations for nurses. And look at number 2. We're moving from a colleague review to a peer review. And we're moving to community learning versus passive learning. And also, I'm sure you're all aware of the high technology use that we are moving towards. Here are more things that are happening in magnet hospitals. The small business model to professional business model. We're moving from competency-based model to a performance management model. And we're moving from static compensation models to pay for performance. We're moving from blind to transparent activities. So, think about your answers that you have of why you think you need to transition to a BSRN. And remember this, nurses are being called to action nationally and locally and on a state level to step up and lead change to advance health. Now we're going to talk about 3 specific action steps that you can take to successfully transition to the BSRN. First step is for you to get a glimpse of the future and the roles that nurses will be filling. Take time to review the Institute of Medicine report on the future of nursing, as this is the blueprint for the future, and it includes the expectations for nurses' competencies and educational preparation to fill their future roles in delivering health care. On this slide, I've provided you with the website link where you can find this report. And I'm sure that many of you on the webinar are already very familiar with this report, because hospitals and other healthcare organizations, as well as schools of nursing, are referring to this report and actually implementing it. Second action step that you can take to successfully transition to a BSRN. Another question for you to ask yourself: what is my passion? Take time to discover it, name it, and pursue working in it. Doing this will equip you with the drive to overcome obstacles, develop knowledge that will empower you to work in your passion, and provide you with feelings of professional and personal fulfillment. And I hope in just these last few minutes, you've already started thinking, what is my passion? The third action step: become familiar with the American Association Colleges of Nurses Essentials for BSN RNs. This is the foundation for the development of curriculum for the BS to RN programs in nursing. And I have provided the first 4 essentials on this slide, and I highly recommend you visit the website, the AACN website, because there are a lot of resources there. In the next few slides, I'll show you all 9 of the essentials. I won't read them all in detail. There are a few I do want to point out. Beginning on this slide, number 1, a solid base in liberal education provides the cornerstone for the practice and education of nurses. This is why it's important to get your BS degree, because you need the liberal arts courses to help you be successful. And you see other areas of interest. And these you will see throughout the BSM program in the coursework that you do. Here are the essentials 5 through 7. I do want to point out some key points about these areas. Number 5, healthcare policies, including financial and regulatory, directly and indirectly influence the nature and functioning of the healthcare system, and thereby are important considerations in professional nursing practice. This is why it is so important for nurses to become more involved in the development and implementation of healthcare policies, and to be prudent and knowledgeable about the financial and regulatory needs that impact the delivery of healthcare. Essential number 6, communication and collaboration among all healthcare professionals. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with the importance of effective communication and collaboration, and there's a lot of discussion today regarding interprofessional collaboration in healthcare. And then number 7, health promotion and disease prevention at not only the individual level, but also population level. And we are being called to look at nursing practice from a different perspective in how we can create a culture of health. So this is not only focused just in the hospitals, it's very much focused in the community and designing communities of health. And here are essentials 8 and 9. Essential 9 has 2 components, and it tells you what a nurse with a bachelor's degree is prepared to do. So you see there's additional knowledge that you gain in the BSM program that you may not have had the opportunity to gain during your first 2 years in an ADM program, because there's only so much time in 2 years for you to learn all the information you need to know. So now let's talk about 8 action steps to be successful in a BSRN program. The number 1 first step is that you need to take time to visit your program student handbook and review the information that's provided. On this page, you have an example of where you can locate the CUNY SPS handbook, and this is the website. So it's real important that you study this and review it so you know what to expect in the program. Second, meet with your academic advisor to plan your courses, and make sure you consider your work, personal, and other activities that demand your time when you're creating your schedule. It's very important not to commit to too many courses that you can't successfully complete. Take time to explore the requirements for each course. Some courses you may find require more time than others, and select the number of courses you will take based on the time you have available. Remember, good planning will help you be successful and not overloading yourself. Step 3, participate actively in the course weekly learning activities. And make sure that you always remember your new ideas are important to improving patient outcomes and transforming the delivery of health care. And it's in these weekly discussions where you can share your ideas with your colleagues and you can learn from each other. This will also help you be successful in your work setting because you will learn things that you may be able to apply in your work setting. Make sure to include references to the course literature and or content when you're posting on the discussion board, and use APA to cite your references in the body of your comments as well as the full source at the bottom of your postings. Number 4. Expect and address unexpected challenges. I know when we enter a program, sometimes we're not really thinking about the unexpected challenges in life, but just know and be aware they will occur. And if you have unexpected personal or work challenges during the semester and you feel it's going to interfere with you completing your assignment, let your professor know right away via email before the assignment is due, because frequently the professors will work with you and they want you to be successful too in your learning experience. Inform your academic advisor of any significant challenges that occur that could prevent you from successfully completing the courses. Excuse me. And remember, sometimes the academic advisors may have help or support that they can recommend you to that will help you overcome the challenges. Think positive and know that you will overcome these challenges by seeking help from your advisor, your mentor, your faculty, and other personal support systems that you have available. Tip 5. If you have questions about the course content, ask and post them on the discussion board under the thread titled Ask Your Instructor. If it's urgent, also send your instructor an email. Step 6, use the school's library resources. And here is a website, an example for the CUNY library resource at the Baruch Library. Number 7, use OWL as a resource for APA guidelines, and that is set up directly on Blackboard for you to access. Find a mentor. A mentor will prove to be invaluable to you. On this slide and the next slide are some expected leadership competencies for nurses and nurse leaders to have. And as you can see, you need to become a skilled communicator, you need to be a team builder, an effective agent for change, you need to commit to service, and you need to develop your skills that allow you to develop collaborative relationships. And develop your skills and ability to effectively manage resources. Take a look at these expected leadership competencies. Think of yourself as a leader and work on developing the expected leadership competencies on this slide. Remember, an important expectation for a leader is to develop human capital, and you can do this by continuously developing and improving your leadership competencies. Think of yourself as a sailboat on the sea that moves with the ebb and flow of the tides as you continue your educational journey and leadership development. Expect challenges and develop plans to overcome them. Share your success stories with your team members and help them develop their leadership skills as well. Now let's take a look at the next slide to see the 9 focus areas for developing and improving leadership competencies. Here you are. Take a few minutes to look at these 9 focus areas on leadership competencies. Are you familiar with any of these areas? How do you rate yourself? Think about this and think about your current leader as well. What competencies on this slide does your current leader have? It's going to be important for you to have competencies in all these areas to be a successful nurse leader. Now let's talk about some behaviors to help you transition into a BSRN role. The first question that comes to mind is, why is it important to identify the behaviors that are necessary to successfully transition into the BSRN role? Do you have an immediate answer for this in your mind? Here's one great answer. The National Advisory Council on Nurse Education and Practice and the National Policy Advisors to Congress and to the Secretary for Health and Human Services on nursing issues urged that at least 2/3 of the nursing workforce hold a BS degree. The Institute of Medicine report on the future of nursing, leading change, advancing health, calls for nurses to achieve higher levels of education. So these are two great answers to this question. Now let's take a look at the next slide to see some of these behaviors. Complete a BS degree and become a BSRN. See, you've already started on this, or you're thinking about it because you're viewing this webinar today. Identify and demonstrate key effective leadership competencies and continue to develop these competencies. Identify and engage a mentor. Learn from faculty, colleagues, classmates, nurse leaders, and other leaders. I'm sure that you're already doing some of this right now. Have you thought about exploring roles for BSRNs and the role that dovetails with your passion? Start giving this some significant thought. And identify how to overcome challenges, as we've discussed, and develop a plan to help you stay on course when these challenges pop up. Remember, behavior leads to outcomes. It's really important. Assessing your behavior, identifying how you currently respond to stimuli and the outcomes you're currently getting is critical to your success as a BSRN. And once you identify your current behavior, you can then identify other types of behavior that could improve the outcomes that you're currently achieving. So behavior leads to successful or unsuccessful outcomes. And I'm going to flip back to one slide, back to this slide for 1 minute. Sorry for any confusion. So it's very important, once again, I just want to highlight this, to really take a good look at your behavior. Okay, so now selecting a mentor. Who comes to mind? I think some of you are very familiar with some of these mentors on this slide. Dr. Reilly being one of these great mentors. Let's talk about finding a mentor. Who comes to mind for you? Do you have a mentor at this time? It could be a leader at work, a leader that you know who works in the community, or a professional friend and colleague. It could be a former teacher or educator, or even perhaps a current teacher or educator. So take time to think about this and find a mentor. Here are some values of having a mentor. It helps you socialize into professional norms, values, and standards. It also helps you with career advancement and success. And it helps to increase your self-confidence, self-esteem, and personal satisfaction. So what does a mentor provide? Continuous guidance and clarifying goals, which we all need, because sometimes we set more goals than we can actually achieve. And it's important to take time to clarify your goals. Make sure they're measurable and obtainable. Share information about power, politics, and other information. This is so critical to your success because power and politics has a direct impact on you being successful. Share stories on how the mentor became successful. Provides feedback for you and provides an opportunity for you to explore issues, plan strategies, and solve problems. So identifying a mentor, there are 3 phases in identifying a mentor. First is the invitational phase. And this is where your mentor agrees to use time and energy to nurture you. Phase 2 is the questioning phase. And this is where mentored individual experiences self-doubt and you begin to question goals. The mentor helps clarify your goals and provides guidance, as we mentioned on the previous slide. In phase 3, transitional, this is when the mentor helps you personalize your learning and become aware of your own strengths and uniqueness. And then you are prepared to be a mentor. So remember, a very important part of the mentoring process is that the plan is you will become a mentor, or even maybe an active mentor when you're being mentored yourself. So remember, the mentor is very valuable as they're giving you time, they're giving you their energy, and they're giving material support to teach you, guide you, assist you, counsel you, and yes, inspire you. That's very important. Here's some characteristics of the mentor-mentee relationship. Nurturing, and remember, it cannot be forced. The relationship is with a close, trusted professional mentor, and perhaps they're in their 40s or 50s, who have experiences they can share with you, values, customs, and resources of the nursing profession. Mentors serve as role models and sounding boards for your decision making. Mentors support development of you through influence and promotion. So now you know why you need to develop your now you know why you need to develop your professional leadership competencies and skills to transition into a BSRN. You know where you can begin your transition by continuing your education in the BSN program to get your degree. You have been given action steps that you can take to facilitate the learning experience in the BS program, so you know how to successfully make this transition. You know what to do to develop your leadership competencies and identify your passion. You know when, as the time is now, to take the first step in transitioning to a BSRN. Go forth and do great things. Remember, you can be successful and make a significant difference in improving the quality of health care that we deliver to patients by learning in a BS program. Don't give up when challenges arise, and remember this quote: our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is to just try one more time, just like Thomas Edison did with the light bulb. And here are references that provide links to some of the resources that were in the presentation today. At this time, I'm going to turn this back over to Dr. Reilly, and we're going to take time to answer any questions you might have, and Dr. Reilly will give you information on how you can access this.
Unmuted.
Dr. Reilly?
Well, thank you, Dr. Shake. Very good information, very informative and helpful to people who are either in a program or are thinking about a program. And I'm sure this information will be useful to those, and they'll take that away as they reflect on their choices and their decisions. In the screen on your right, there is a question box, a chat box in which you can type questions. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you present. I do have a couple already for you, Eileene, that I'm just going to pose to you, and you can share with us your information in regard to that. So one
Okay.
question that came up was, what kinds of opportunities are available to nurses who do go back and get their bachelor degree? Many nurses report that they're in a current role, they have their associate degree or they have their diploma, and why do they need to go back and get their BS? Yes, there's all of these reports and so forth, but what are some tangible, real opportunities that are available for nurses when they do go back and get their bachelor's degree? Could you speak to that point?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question. The roles are significant. Um, and a lot of these roles are now moving into communities. But the field is wide open for nurses that have their bachelor's degrees. Whether they're moving into designing cultures of health in communities, moving to work in school systems and providing care. And it also depends on if they decide to become nurse practitioners. There are significant roles for primary care providers now that nurses are filling. I think of nursing informatics. There are significant roles in that specialty area. Nursing leadership in health policy, on hospital boards, also in actually being on healthcare teams that are designing new ways of delivering healthcare. So there are so many different roles. And Marge, also I would like to say, I'm not sure if the presentation I did at the faculty workshop at CUNY is recorded and available, but there was a lot of discussion and examples of roles that you might want to share if that was recorded. Was that recorded?
I don't believe the presentation was recorded, but we do have your presentation slides. So we've made that available to faculty, but if you want to give permission, we'd be happy to make it available to our students on our nursing Facebook page or in other areas, depending on your level of permission.
Okay, sure, absolutely. Feel free to share that with them because there are significant examples of specific roles on that presentation, and that would help encourage nurses as well as see what they have to look forward to.
Well, that sounds great, Eileene. We appreciate the offer, and we'll certainly make that available both for our students and for those who visit our website, so they can get a better idea of what kinds of opportunities will be available to them just by taking this first decision and this first step. Another question that came up was, I think you spoke to it a little bit, how will the future of nursing recommendations change the role of nursing in healthcare? So I think you've kind of addressed that a little bit. Do you want to add anything more to what you've already said?
Yes, definitely, significantly. And I encourage nurses, once they finish their BS, to go on and get their master's degrees and their doctorate degrees, because nurses are going to have a significant impact, more than they've ever had, in the provision of health care for patients. And they are becoming independent practitioners. They are becoming members on hospital boards, helping to make key decisions of how care is provided in hospital systems. They're on community boards. They're being elected to office, both at the state and federal level. They're on health boards in communities. And it's really important that they have the education they need in order to be effective in these roles. So the future for nursing is so bright, and I'm very passionate about this. I guess you can tell from my answer, but there are just so many ways nurses are going to be more involved than ever in designing how care is delivered.
Well, we certainly hear your passion come through. Absolutely. I just read an editorial this morning that talked about the influence of the changes in healthcare policy through the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, where expansion of healthcare services to over 10 million people, but we haven't added any additional physicians to the healthcare workforce. And as the largest healthcare professional group in the country, nurses, we need to capitalize better on our presence and on our ability to address many of these healthcare needs and connecting them to other services and working collaboratively, as you mentioned. So yes, I agree, the future is bright for nursing, and we need to be able to capitalize on the talent that we already have here in our profession.
Absolutely. And chronic disease management is also a huge field that nurses are moving into as we try to set up a system that actually helps patients live healthy in their homes.
You're right.
And
As patients, people live longer and longer.
yeah,
They're living healthier, but they're also living with the consequences of our lifestyle choices. And the number one diseases in our country, in the United States, heart disease, cancer, neurological issues, diabetes, things like that. People are living with these diseases, and learning how to live healthier is a big goal for helping our country and our people to stay well and to be productive and enjoy great quality of life. And I do agree with you that nurses' role in helping to provide this kind of service will be invaluable and will be a major player in healthcare services as we move forward. It's not all about that ICU and the acute care experience. Most of healthcare is going to be moving more and more into community-based settings and connecting across the healthcare continuum. So the role of nursing is only going to get bigger, as you point out.
and also using technology, we're going to see more and more healthcare delivered online, nursing calls online. So it's really important that as professionals we embrace using technology to deliver care, and we're seeing this happening already with hospital systems. Now you sign up and you can have your doctor's visit right online, and it offers flexibility to patients, and they really like that. And then also part of chronic disease management is, having care online with the nurse. So this is another huge field and roles for nurses.
Absolutely. One other question we had, could you give an example of healthcare policy being influenced by nursing or influencing how nursing care is delivered?
Absolutely. I'm going to refer you to the Future of Nursing, Leading Change, Advancing Health report from the Institute of Medicine. Nurses were part of the group that helped develop this report. And Dr. Sue Hassmiller from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is a great example of someone who was very active and involved in this, in writing this report. And a lot of the work that's going on actually ties into the recommendations in the Affordable Care Act. And several of our professional nursing organizations are also involved in this. All nurses involved in health policy to help improve access to care. So the initiatives going on across the country related to the call to action the Center to Champion Nursing in America. All the work that's taken place in all the states across the country are all directly aligned with nurses being involved in health policy.
That's terrific. That's fabulous work. And again, shows the power of nursing once we go beyond our immediate service and think about the bigger picture, which is going upstream and looking at how policy can influence healthcare delivery and how we as nurses can speak and be a part of that and help make changes in how healthcare is being delivered.
Absolutely. And we also have more nurses that are elected in Congress on the federal level, as well as we're seeing more nurses elected on the state level. In the state legislature, we have nursing lobbyists involved. So they're just significant roles that nurses are playing in impacting health policy and directly impacting how we deliver care now and in the future.
And the skill sets needed to be able to function in those arenas. A great place to start is, as you mentioned, transitioning back to school to RN to BS programs and learning about leadership styles, management styles, managing groups, collaborating, how policy is developed, how it's shared, how it's implemented, and how it is influenced by different roles and people and groups and organizations in our country today. So those are all great skill sets to learn about in the environment of the RN to BS programs that people may not have been exposed to when they started their initial education in nursing. And the wonderful thing about nursing is that it continually evolves, and people in nursing can continually evolve into new and different roles. If you're bored in nursing, it's your own fault because there's so many different opportunities and areas and directions that you can go in.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, I said absolutely.
One other question that came up to us is about mentoring. And does a mentor have to be somebody that I work with?
No, it does not have to be someone that you work with. If you go back to the slide on mentoring, there were several examples given, and it can be someone in the community, a leader in the community. It can be someone that's not necessarily a leader in healthcare, but it's someone who can be a sounding board for you, who can help you set goals, help you explore your passion, help you explore strategies to achieve your goals. And I do want to say this, one of the most important things that anyone can do is find your passion. Because once you find your passion and the area that you really want to work in that speaks to your passion, you will be successful. You can't help but be successful. And a mentor can help you identify this. So no, it does not have to be a nurse or someone in your organization.
Okay, well, thank you, Eileen. That concludes our questions. I'm just going to conclude the webinar by telling people that the recording for this will be available on our CUNY SPS YouTube channel. People who registered for the webinar today will receive an email and a notice when it is available. You do not have to have signed up for the webinar in order to have access to the YouTube channel from CUNY SPS. We will also make it available on our CUNY School of Professional Studies nursing program Facebook page, and our Facebook page is open to the public, so that will be another area where you can also tap into and listen to this wonderful webinar that was presented today by the wonderful Dr. Eileene Shake. Well done. Thank you again for your time. CUNY School of Professional Studies is an online program for nurses who are seeking to go back to get their bachelor's degree. It's a flexible, affordable opportunity, and we have a mission to assist and work with students and help them be successful in identifying their goals and then helping them succeed in achieving those goals. So we are very pleased to have you join us today. We thank you for your time, and we hope that you will return to our ongoing series of webinars on professional development for nurses. Thank you, Dr. Sheikh. Any last words from you?
Thank you, Dr. Reilly, and thank you all for attending the webinar. And it's just an exciting time for nursing and the roles that nurses can play. I wish you all much success in your educational journey. Thank you.